formerly competed at 115 pounds, and this fight will be at 125. Why the move?
It's sort of taking an opportunity that I was offered, really. I fought at Flyweight sort of the early part of my career, and Flyweight is potentially a better weight class than me, but it's a difficult weight cut, and it makes the training camps quite hard. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to try Flyweight and sort of see what a difference that made, especially sort of in the lead up to the fight.
Many fans know you from last year's Ultimate Fighter. What was that experience like for you?
It was a bit of a whirlwind, really. The time schedule for the winter tough is quite tight. So I think it was about the tryouts about 3 weeks after they announced after they were announced, and a month after the tryouts, I ended up in the house. So it felt a bit surreal in a way, just because of the sort of 2 months earlier I didn't even know it was happening. It was a very challenging experience, being so much out of my comfort zone, away from my sort of teammates, coaches, family. So the fact that I got through that sort of vaguely in one piece means quite a lot.
And now the UFC is running a Flyweight season. Was that something you had given any consideration to, or had you already signed with Bellator by the time they had ran tryouts?
No, I'm not entirely sure how that worked out time-wise. I think they might have announced it before I signed to Bellator, but it's one of those things where I figured that once was enough. I probably have the record to possibly get back on it, but
yeah, there's a lot of girls who are like 3-2 and 2-2 on there. I would imagine that you would have been a front or like a top choice of theirs.
Potentially. I struggled. I was pretty reserved on the show. I really, really struggled to sort of let go in front of the cameras. So there'd be no guarantee that they'd want me back from that perspective. But I just figured that Bellator was a better opportunity than going near the Ultimate Fighter a second time, really.
Do you know of any Bellator title plans at 125?
I think I haven't heard anything specifically, but they've got quite a big division now, so it wouldn't surprise me if they're working towards sort of doing that in the next maybe 6 months or so. It makes sense anyway.
And last question involving Tough. I know that you fought Joanna earlier in your career, and then she was coaching against you. What was that like? Was there any ill will after all those years, or do you all just kind of get along?
I didn't have that much to do with her, really. I think she bitched about me once or twice, not to my face, but in interviews. But apart from that, I was on Claudia's team, so the contact between myself and the coach on the other team was very limited. And I wouldn't say there's any hard feelings either way. It was a long time ago. I doubt she, really cares, and that was, it was a loss that I have to move past that. So I haven't lost since, and I don't really plan to.
So you've been involved in MMA for a long time. It seems like I first heard your name like 6 or 7 years ago, and you had been around before then. When did you actually start training MMA?
Maybe About 9 years ago. My first fight was just over 8 years ago. So it was the very early days of the sport in this country. I turned pro straight away. It was quite rough and ready. Didn't really know what I was doing, besides going in there and trying to punch someone hard in the face. And it wasn't there.
So you're facing Colleen Schneider. What exactly do you know about Colleen?
I know she's fought in quite a lot of promotions and is dropping down from bantamweight. So I think that will be a bit of a challenge there. It's not the first bantamweight I've fought, but she probably will be a little bit. She's definitely taller than me anyway. I've never really felt like I've fought anyone that's been stronger than me, so I guess I'll find out in that regard. But she's pretty well-rounded, got wrestling and taekwondo background, I think. So she looks to be a little bit unorthodox. But we've got a fair bit of work in on that front, so see how it goes.
You mentioned that she's dropping down from 135. You're going up from 115. Is that something that you had to battle a lot earlier in your career? Because you're seeing a lot of women who are moving to that 125 division in the UFC from strawweight, from bantamweight, because there just weren't as many opportunities. Did you face that early on, and if so, how has that changed?
When I first started, it was probably more of the fights were set in the UK in kilos, not pounds, and they were catch weight fights, so you'd sort of agree a weight and go from there. I mean, I didn't really get the hang of weight cutting until maybe about start of 2014. The sport in this country has changed drastically since I started. I mean, there's loads of opportunities at an amateur level now, whereas I only had the one amateur fight, and it was after I'd already had 2 pro fights, which nowadays would be pretty unusual.
One of the things I've noticed about you is that, like, at no point throughout a fight is your opponent, like, out of danger of it being finished. You finished fights with, like, 1 second left in the round. You finished fights in the first minute. You finished fights, almost all throughout fights. What do you think that says about you as a competitor? Because there are a lot of fighters that you'll see that once it gets past the first or second round, if they haven't submitted or knocked their opponent out, what's going to the scorecards.
Yeah, it makes me really, really angry when it goes to judges. I'm pissed off with myself because I like to finish fights. That's what I'm going in there for. That's what I'm training for. And obviously, the tougher the opponent, the harder it is to do. Maybe especially in the lower female weight classes, where you tend to see less knockouts. But if the opportunity's there to finish something, then I think it's worth taking the risk and trying.